Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of US Law Live, US Law's official podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Michael Judy from the Dysart Taylor firm, coming to you live from Kansas City, Missouri, and I am joined once again by one of my lovely and talented co-hosts, Jessica Dark with the Pierce Couch firm in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Hello, Jessica.
Good morning. How are you, Mike?
I am great. The last time we talked, you had just arrived back from LA after a Oklahoma City Thunder victory, and now they are moving on to the conference championship. So, what's the mood like in Oklahoma City?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, it's mind-blowing that it has been less than a week since we had that game and since we got back. This week has just been really crazy busy. The vibes in OKC are high. It's really all we've got, Mike. And everyone is thrilled. We have tons of yard signs all over all of our neighborhoods. All of the businesses are getting windows painted, decked out. It's been really fun. I've purchased several new Thunder shirts, and our neighborhood has kind of, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 of us houses have these 7-foot inflatable Rumble the Bison, our mascot. So it's super fun to drive around. But like I said, it's all we've got. It's really what we have to devote our time and our money to. But what about you? What's going on in Kansas City?
We are just here with Chiefs fever. The Royals are not playing where we thought they would be coming into the
Oh
year.
no.
And like true Kansas Cityans, everybody is now focused on the Chiefs and football and getting ready for training camp and just, wearing their Chiefs red, even though they should be wearing Royals blue. But that's, what you get from being in Kansas City.
Mike, I
Um,
think that if we ever fail as lawyers, we could start a sports podcast.
I think we could.
We seem to focus on that a lot, but maybe it's just because the seasons, it's all I have to talk about. If it's not what,
Yeah.
it's Thunder.
Well, and I know our esteemed guest we can talk our ear off about the law, but I know that he is also a huge fan of a very successful college football team, the Miami Hurricanes. So, with that introduction, welcome Dean Nickas with Wicker Smith in Miami, Florida. How are you?
Good morning. By God's grace, I am better than I deserve to be and happy to be here with you guys.
Dean,
And
I just love you. You're so great. You always bring positivity. I'm over
I,
here complaining about this 900-day work week I just had, and you just, you always brighten the day.
Well, that is very sweet of you. Appreciate that. And I do love my Hurricanes.
How are you dealing with the national championship hangover? A great game was a much closer game than I thought it was going to be, but I know things are probably a little gloom there in for the Hurricane fans, but you've got that sunny weather, and I'm sure looking for another great season next year.
True enough, Michael. We had about a 20-year drought where our team was not performing up to expectations. So being back in this seat and with great coaching and direction, we feel good about the future. And since the rest of our teams, like the Heat and the Marlins and the Dolphins, are just in the tank, the Hurricanes are really what we have down here right now.
Do you hear how lucky you are? All those teams you have.
We are, it's funny you say that, Jessica, because when I was growing up, all we had was the Dolphins and the Hurricanes were an afterthought. They were playing on Friday nights, and the only way they could get fans to go to the games was they gave away free tickets if you bought a meal at the local quick serve restaurant. You could get free tickets to the Hurricanes back in the 70s. So things have changed dramatically over time.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma, before the Thunder, it was OU football and then OSU, Oklahoma State, not Ohio State, which much to their chagrin, if you Google OSU, it always comes up Ohio State. Anyway, we had some very serious rivalry, and then I feel like when we did get the Thunder, we were all able to put our differences aside and have a joint venture to stand behind our team. But I think that's why we have such a college-like environment for our fans. I mean, every single person puts on that free t-shirt. We're banging our little banger clapper things. When we went to LA, when we went to Denver, I mean, everyone was just kind of, they're cheering, but it was not the same vibe. So I think that not having other teams has really helped our fan base now.
Yeah. It's funny that how much sports can bring people together, and I'm making a great segue because Dean is also a wonderful person for bringing people together. He's no stranger in the U.S. Law Network. Never met a stranger, as you alluded to, Jessica, is always one of the brightest, most positive people. But Dean, for the listeners, the few that we have that aren't familiar with you, kind of give us your background with U.S. law, how you got involved and your rise through the organization and what it's meant to you.
Sure, thank you. Our firm was one of the founding firms with U.S. Law back when Charles Carr and Jim O'Hagan and one of my now retired partners, Tom Graham, started this. They all got together in Naples at Tom's office over there, and what a great organization! It's incredible to see the growth, not only in terms of lawyers, clients, firms, international now. It's unbelievable. I've been attending events within the organization for probably a little more than 20 years. And it's some of my closest friends have evolved out of the organization, and it's just been a great blessing.
And for the younger listeners that we have that may be just getting started out with U.S. law, or maybe part of a newer member firm that's joined U.S. law, what advice would you give them for getting the most bang for their buck or the best experience out of U.S. law?
I think the best experience is the relationships that you form, and out of the relationships you form, obviously this is an organization created to drive business both amongst the clients and of course amongst the lawyers. Uh, but like everything in life, so many people within the organization and clients that I have, folks started out as clients and later have become great friends, and they've come to milestone events, within our family and whatnot. So I would say that's my biggest takeaway within U.S. law is just go be yourself, have a great time, and the work will find you.
And tell us, Dean, I mean, I know you're at Wickersmith, and your bio on the internet tells me you've been there for quite a while.
I don't, there's maybe a little bit of furniture that's older than me here, but outside of that, that's about it.
Um, the internet tells me it was 1989, Dean. Is that when you started Wickersmith?
That is when I started at Wickersmith as a law clerk.
I'm
And
not going to tell
uh,
you what I was doing in 1989. It wasn't much. It was napping at daycare and, you know, drinking out of sippy cups, probably. But anyway, about work, tell us kind of about Wickersmith and your focus, what your primary practice areas are.
sure. Well, I've again seen such great and wonderful change within Wickersmith during my time here. When I joined the firm, we were three offices and about 50 lawyers total, and now we're at about 325 or so, and
Wow.
we've got offices all over the place. So it's been great. Another terrific thing that happened for me in 1989 and 1990. I met my wife in law school, and we got married, and a couple of months ago we just celebrated 35 years.
Oh,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
So thank you.
Well, that means all three of us are married to lawyers. I
Right.
also met my husband in law school. Did you and Mary Jane meet in law school, Mike?
We did, and she was actually in a long-term relationship than when we met, a guy that she had met in undergrad. And, I was just so charming that she realized that, she needed to break up with him and start dating me. And
Home
I
wrecker.
still wonder why she made such a dumb decision. I mean, I have outkicked my coverage. But yeah, meeting in law school, and as you two can probably attest to, dating in law school and then being married to a lawyer has a lot of blessings, but also some challenges with it as well. Somebody who knows how to argue as well as you do.
And being the smart man that I know you are, Michael, you would actually concede that she does that even better, right?
Oh, 1,000%. I mean, not even in the same ballpark.
Good answer. Good
She's
answer.
listening. I know she's listening to this podcast. She can't get enough
Right,
of hearing
right.
you chit chat.
And I know, Dean, your practice, you're kind of a jack of all trades. Do a lot of trucking work, a lot of retail and hospitality, a lot of just, general liability defense work. But one of the things as we were getting ready for this podcast that you had brought up and it wanted to give you some chance to talk about is, some of the foodborne illness claims that you're seeing, and what is kind of unique in the Miami area, and how you deal with those.
I've been privileged to be exposed to so many different areas. When I started off at Wicker Smith, I started in medical malpractice defense, and that just kind of moved into lots of different areas as different opportunities came about with clients. Uh, One client in particular, I had the opportunity to get involved in foodborne illness cases, and it's interesting. An expert that I met along the way in the foodborne illness cases once said there are really three rules to these cases, right? Rule number one is that people with gastric symptoms will always blame their last meal as the cause of their symptoms. Rule number two is that rule number one always is true if the meal was purchased from a restaurant, hotel, or grocery chain, especially if they have a lot of money and are a national brand. And the third rule is rule number one never is true if the meal was either prepared in the home or at a church. And I thought those are absolute rules to live by in these cases because most of the time, you're always watching the incubation periods and what's the onset of symptoms, what is the food history, and I can't if I had a nickel for every time that a plaintiff tells me, "Oh, I didn't eat anything else that day except for this," I'd have a lot of nickels because they always forget. Oh, I didn't eat anything else. No, I can't remember, but I darn sure remember what I had at your restaurant. Uh, and
Do you
then,
feel like the majority is chicken?
yeah, we see it in chicken and we see it in beef. So the beef cases are usually more serious, especially because if you're having ground beef in particular, and for those, who are listening to this podcast, rookie mistake to get, rare ground beef, rare hamburgers, bad idea, bad things happen with that.
Yeah,
So
don't do it.
yeah, just you're playing roulette
Right.
if you're doing that.
And I'd imagine that the foodborne illness cases are, a little bit more interesting in Miami because it does have such a rich culture, and there's a lot that's tied to food, and you have a lot of different cultures and types of food and ethnicities and different ways to prepare things. And with a lot of food in restaurants, it's part of their identity, part of who they are. So it's probably something that can be difficult to challenge and defend. And you probably get into some interesting conversations with experts and plaintiff lawyers on, a wide variety of food types.
Well, you really do. And at the end of the day, the biggest key is brand protection, right? Whether it's for a large chain or whether it's for, uh, mom and pop, Jessica and Michael's restaurant. Everybody wants to make sure that they protect their brand because God forbid if it gets out that people are getting sick. One news cycle, you were talking about doing a Google search earlier. What's the first thing that's going to pop up? Well, I went to Jessica and Michael's restaurant. I got sick. And then the next person sees that and says, "Ooh, well, we're going to steer away from there." They do great podcasts, but I don't know about their restaurant.
I can
I
tell you that
got
if I were cooking anything, it would not be good. That's with most things. That's also something that Mary Jane is better at than I am.
this may not be too surprising. The one time I believe I was the victim of a foodborne illness, I ate at a restaurant in a very small town in Oklahoma, and it was called the Rusty Knot. So who is that on? Is that on me for going to the Rusty Knot and for ordering white queso and chicken quesadillas? I'm going to say yes. It was on me. So I did not seek any sort of legal action.
Yeah. Well, and then with the economy, you get a lot of people who will put things into their food and claim that that was served to them at the restaurant. And so we see a lot of those kind of cases also. And that's where it really is almost like a CIS type of thing where you're getting together with experts and you're getting the foreign objects and having them analyzed, and they're telling you, okay, well, this couldn't have been in the food for this reason. We can see the ridges in the screw and there's no meat product left there. They can analyze if it's a critter, for example, what's in the critter's stomach or under their nails or what have you. So those kind of cases I've always found very, very interesting and a little different than your average. Not that your average slip and fall isn't interesting and doesn't have its challenges, but these things are a little outside the box.
What's the strangest thing that you have found somebody either putting in their food or doing something to tamper with their meal?
Hmm. I
I
would
mean,
say,
you mentioned a screw. I couldn't imagine putting something like that into food I was about to eat or
Did
pretending
you
it's
not
in there
hear
or
him say
whatever.
like a rodent? That's not more shocking than a
yeah,
screw?
I I would say the Hall of Fame is probably I had a pastor who claimed that he had a lizard in his coffee.
Oh man.
That was interesting. I've had several instances for lots of different restaurants with alleged rodents in,
Ugh.
in their food, and I am happy to say every one of them was a false claim. Every one of them was a false claim. So it's just very interesting. You know exactly who the experts are that you go to, and get the preservation letter out, make sure these things get looked at, and uh, they're fun cases.
Does it change your feelings about eating out? For instance, I had a slip and fall at one of my favorite chain restaurants, and every time I would go to set up a meeting, I would stay and have lunch. Very, very happily, but it was slip and fall. It was not foodborne illness. Does that give you any pause?
Jessica, that's a great question. I hadn't really thought about it, but I guess when I consider it, most of these clients that I've had these cases with, it actually gives me a newfound respect for the processes, the safety practices that they have at the restaurant. I actually kind of look back and say, shoot, I'm getting pretty good food from these folks. Not only tasty, but they take the steps to make sure that it's safe for the customers.
Awesome.
Nice.
I do a lot of jail cases where I defend a lot of jails, and I've had similar thoughts of, well, if I'm going to be incarcerated, I would like this jail. And then there are a lot of jails I would not want to be incarcerated in.
I could not even begin to imagine what you would be incarcerated for, Jessica.
I would agree there. I would
I
I
don't
agree.
mean,
want to speculate because
maybe if the yeah, if you
I,
lose at mahjong and you go crazy and start fighting people.
yeah,
Jessica's over here thinking this is not a privileged podcast, so I really shouldn't be talking about what I might be incarcerated for.
yeah, I was running through statutes of limitation on, like distracted driving and things like that.
Well, Dean, I know we could talk about foodborne liability issues, illness, and food tampering issues, but kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk about something else that I know you and I have had conversations about. Your true pride and joys, your two boys that have followed your footsteps into the law and are in the early stages of their legal career, and they're both practicing in New York right now, correct?
They are, and thank you for that opportunity. I'm extraordinarily proud of John and Chris. They are both practicing lawyers up in New York City, and Chris does mergers and acquisition, and John is handling new. He just changed firms a couple of weeks ago, and so he's doing tax and wills and trusts and all. So he's shed the mergers and acquisitions and moved over to a different area. But and everyone who knows me knows that my sons got smarts from their mom, which is why they're so successful.
And I know you practice, obviously Miami's a big city and but you hear, horror stories about New York and just the culture there. Sounds like they've both found really great opportunities and are really thriving up there.
They really have. They both concluded their studies up there at NYU, which is kind of what got them staying up there. And they're in love with the city. God willing, we'll get one or both of them back to South Florida someday. But for now, we'll share.
Good.
We'll share.
We talked a little bit about food too, and I ask this on a lot of podcasts. I didn't tell you this one was coming, so I'll give you some time to think. But if I had 24 hours to spend in Miami, where are we eating? Where are we going for breakfast? Where are we going for lunch? And where are we going for dinner?
Hmm. Okay, breakfast. I would say we're going to keep us out of South Beach because it's just
Okay.
too touristy and what have you. Breakfast, I would say we're going to go to a place called Green Streets in Coconut Grove. Been there for a long time. Great place for people watching, and terrific food. For lunch, can't have you come to Miami and not take you to a Cuban restaurant, right? So we are going to go to Versailles.
Ooh.
Okay.
And Versailles, the next time you guys are down here, I will make sure to get both of you over there. Versailles is kind of loosely based on Versailles from France. It has fantastic Cuban food. And it's interesting because just about every politician who is running for office, local, state, and national, always makes a stop at Versailles. So that would definitely be the place. And dinner, I'm very partial to, there's a steakhouse near our office that's been around for over 40 years called Christie's. So we'll finish up the night there.
Sounds like a great day.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've only been to Miami through a US Law event. What do you have on the agenda for the rest of this year? Where are you headed for US Law events?
For US Law events. So I will be in Lake Tahoe for the retail event.
Sounds hideous, but okay.
And right now, I will be in Boston for the client meeting in September. So those are the two that immediately come to mind that I will be attending.
That sounds great. I think Mike and I are both going to be in Boston as well. And then Mike, you're going to Lake Tahoe, right?
Yeah, I will see you relatively soon in Lake Tahoe, Dean.
That's right.
Bring
That's
some
right.
of the bring some of that Cuban food up for me if it'll travel.
I will gladly do that. I will
Yeah.
gladly do that. We will just have been coming off of Esther, my wife had a milestone birthday this year, so we will just be coming off of a trip out to northern Spain
Ooh.
uh,
Oh, wow.
to commemorate her birthday, and the boys are joining us and finishing up the trip with the pilgrimage there in northwest Spain at doing the Camino in Santiago de Compostela. So we're looking forward to that.
And I'm not familiar with that. What's that trip entail?
So there, if you do the entire Camino, it usually takes several weeks, and I forget exactly how many miles it is. We're not going to have time this trip to be able to do that, but we are going to do the conclusion of the trip, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful.
Nice.
And I'll look forward to sharing pictures with you after when I see you in California.
I
Yeah,
love it.
put a PowerPoint together for us, Dean. Maybe we can do a breakout session on
I
travel.
like it. You
A
bet.
1000%. And I know you and Esther and the boys like to travel. What's been the favorite place that you've all been together as a family? And it can be international, local, or I mean,
Hmm.
in the US. Anything that
Wow.
jumps out at you?
Uh, I'd say it'd probably be two. The Vatican was very special. We've been there a couple of times. Uh, And then we also did a trip that was part to Greece and part to Turkey, and saw some family there in Greece, which was fantastic. And then in Turkey, we went to the final resting point where the Virgin Mary uh, lived her last days, and that was a pretty special place to be also. So I would say those would probably be my three top.
Oh, those are great trips.
That's awesome. Are you a cruise person, Dean? Is that something you've
Love
done?
cruising. Love cruising. And just because we are going on a cruise later this year, and it'll be our first actually post-COVID. But before COVID, we used to make sure we got on a cruise just about every year. How about
Okay.
you, Jessica? Are you a cruise person?
Well, I've only been once and I was still in high school and
So
it was,
about 5 years ago,
yeah,
roughly.
yeah, very recent. Um, but my husband is anti-cruise and he's also only been once. And I think when he was in high school, but I think the very small cabins, I think in that time is what we were both in instead of, maybe what we would want to get these days has just told him no, too claustrophobic feeling. I'm very like, whatever. If he were to be like, let's plan one, I'd say, okay. And he has taken the position we will not be cruising. So,
Okay. Michael, how
Yeah.
about you? How about you?
I've never been on a cruise. I am would love to do one, but Mary Jane is anti-cruise.
Also,
She had always been anti-cruise, doesn't like feeling constricted. She likes to move about, likes to be able to, go where she wants. Not that cruise ships aren't large, but the only cruise then she ever went on was with her mom and her sisters and some cousins, a girls' trip, and they had such a fiasco on the cruise because it lost an engine. So they could only
oh,
go to two of the five ports they were supposed to go to. And then when they finally got to their final destination, their flight was canceled. So they're scrambling trying to get flights back. And so I've tried to tell, like, let's give it another shot. And the answer I got was absolutely not. My first cruise was my last cruise.
oh boy. Okay.
that's what I wanted to know because I feel like it is you're either pro or anti. There doesn't really seem to be a lot of middle ground.
I
Yeah,
get
and I've
that.
never been, so I mean, I'd love to do one and just see if I am pro or anti, but that decision has been made for me.
Maybe
Unless
we
I'm
need to
going
talk to
alone.
let's say
Right.
we need to talk to Roger and see if we can get one of the US law events on a short cruise.
Oh my
I
gosh,
I
that would
couldn't
be
even
so fun.
imagine how insane that would be.
Oh,
Well, Dean, you
Dean,
have been more than generous with your time as always. Again, you're one of my all-time favorite people. As Jessica stated earlier, you're just the nicest, most genuine, down-to-earth human being I've probably ever met. Thank you for everything you do for the network. And, for anybody listening that has not met Dean or doesn't know Dean, I promise you, if you walk up to him at a US Law event, or even if you just email him and say, "Hey, I want to connect," he will make time. Will be nothing but gracious and generous. So thank you for all you've done for the organization, Dean. We appreciate you.
Well, that you're most kind. I enjoyed spending time with both of you and remain steadfast and confident that as the years go on, our organization is in great shape with people like you and Jessica.
thanks, Dean. It was great to see you. Have fun with
Yeah.
all your travels and all your foodborne illnesses.
Y'all have take care and have a great rest of your
Yeah.
day. Take care.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone, for
you.
tuning in to this episode of US Law Live, the official podcast of the US Law Network. We will see you next time. Bye.